Moto news from around the world. We had huge news. No more fucking e-bikes. They are dead. The United States doesn't want them anyway. Right after this. No, and I'm just kidding. My sense of humor is kind of dark and bland. No, it is complete and utter BS what I think is going on. And personally, disclaimer, right? I was supposed to have a deal with Stark and it fell through. So I've got no alliances for Stark, even though I'm a big proponent. You guys have heard me with the e-bikes. I like them. Because of just the Eternals of not having to just air filter, cam chain tensioner every so often, and piston rebuild and clutch replacement. And, oh God, do I need to tumble my gears or are they coming out? There's a lot. Oh, got to change the oil after every ride. Don't have to do that. So it's easier just to go. And we've seen how cool they are. And more than anything, right? The biggest advantage I see that the Starks have is you don't have to change the damn, because of the ECU, you don't have to, there's no delay in fuel mixture or anything. So you're not losing horsepower when you go to altitude, something like a Lakewood National where you're at mile high, you're at over 5,000 feet. Therefore, if you set that sucker to 80 horsepower, you have 80 horsepower, right? There's no delay in that, which I think is pretty dang impressive. But here, let's just get to what the articles have. Oh, by the way, we've had Patrick Evans, here in 2024 has gold medal, right? There's multiple guys on the Starks that have gold freaking medals. And give it up to Arena Cross for making the own e-bike class, right? Like I saw a meme on the internet that I probably should have had this for this live show, of the sheer fact that he had his JBL speaker attached to his motorcycle and he was playing music so you could hear him when he came up. Like, that's the biggest complaint, is that you can't hear the damn SOBs, right? They just sneak up on you and you might die. But what I really think is going on here, okay, let's before we get into my biased perspective, let's read what X Games had to say about this, canceling it just a few months before competition. While we recognize the advancements in electric technology, our focus is on maintaining a level playing field and delivering the best experience for both athletes and fans. We'll continue to monitor the evolution of the sport and assess new innovations that fit within X Games competition. This is coming from the fucking people that had downhill shovel racing for the winter X Games, where you just hop your ass on a shovel and you go downhill. Like, come on, guys. If you're looking at a competitive advantage, we're talking about Moto best whip. We're talking about the half pipe. We're talking about best trick here. This is not racing, where you need to have that sucker set at 80 horsepower because you're competing with a motorcycle that's $300,000 that has special built proprietary factory parts. When I talk to the guy that is on my thumbnail, he's got his Stark set to 54 horsepower, and he does probably the best whips of anybody I have seen. So if I'm being biased, and if I'm just looking at this, because you guys know I'm digressing here, but I'm getting to the point, because there's a quote here. Mark Twain says, if you find yourself on the side of the majority, you should stop and reflect. So what is really going on here? To me, this screams that they've been pressured from the bigger manufacturers, all while you have what has gone on with Kawasaki here recently. Kawasaki says that they've got durability concerns where the primary gear may fail and you might die on the motorcycle. So we need to discontinue sales of all 450, 450X, and 450 racing models immediately. That's not good. That's way not good. So if I'm being honest, and if I'm thinking at this from just my way of thinking, what is going on is Stark is being checked out because Honda and Yamaha, Kawasaki, KTM all don't want them there. They don't want them there. Truthfully, in all of two-wheel racing, these guys make up a good proportion of the rules, right? It's not necessarily AMA or the series. It's the manufacturers. You got to keep the manufacturers happy so that they can stay around. And you're doing something right if yeah, sure, man. I'm just a good person in general. And yeah, with that comment, okay, Charles, right? You want to make a comment here. I appreciate you making the comment. So I guess we'll do it here live. Here. I got to the point where I'm tired of being negative. And truthfully, I'm happier and I do the best when I'm being a tutorialist and I'm teaching the fans how to better themselves and not make the same mistakes as me. So if you want to go look at the other channel, go look at the other freaking channels from guys that just want to piss on everybody. Okay? So enough with that. Good morning, Swamp Picker. Good morning. I believe they are being pressured by the big manufacturers, essentially. That is just what I think. They've been pressured before. It's kind of why they're not in Supercross and anything. And let's just wait. As soon as KTM and once they start making bikes again, because they say that they're going to start turning back on the fountain here in March for R&D, we already know that they've got some pretty good electric bikes around. But once they start bringing them out and once Honda finally releases its electric bike, all of a sudden you're going to see these guys be implemented into pro motocross, pro supercross, have their own class per se, be all in all sorts of racing, GNCC, whatever. You'll see them just be a floodgate, and you'll see X Games all of a sudden go, oh, okay, cool. We'll do that. And it could be even as far as some people don't want to show up to X Games if those bikes are there. That to me shows that those bikes are good. Those bikes are good. I've ridden a couple of them. They are good. Do I wish that I was a Stark rider? Yeah. But unfortunately, they won't return my emails. I was supposed to have a deal and was supposed to have a bike already. But they stopped communication. And I'm sure it's because it's financial instability, but I would at least expect a reason, right? Of why, because they contacted me to represent them. And I was like, sure, let's do it. Let's get going. And it fell through. Right. But that's why I'm able to speak about it now. So now I'm still on the market for a bike. And so now, I'm thinking I might want the Honda e-bike when it comes out here. And that is pretty much it. When we talk about the X Games being banned, they say it's because they want to keep things fair. And I don't see how these bikes have much of a competitive advantage. Maybe on the half pipe, but I truthfully think that the half pipe deal is just who has the biggest balls. When you're going against somebody like Kobe Raha, it's going to be hard to beat those guys. Absolutely, it's going to be hard to beat those guys. And with Kawasaki, I'm glad that they are now saying that Mosman, he rides so well. And I believe he would just get so bored of Glenn Helen after being there all the time. But I'm happy that they are now taking consideration in their customers to say, hey, we don't want them out there getting hurt. So I wonder what the refund is if somebody buys a 2025 and they're like, hey, what goes on? They'll probably end up going to and you guys are saying they're not doing those kind of whips on the 450s. Truthfully, I mean, the Starks are pretty heavy too, right? And yeah, I do say that they're doing some really sick whips, but why ban the motorcycle? Because it's better. So to me, I believe most of the pressure is coming from the manufacturers, maybe some of the athletes, okay? Because if you have like an Axel Hodges in there that says, hey, I'm not going to go race against Starks, and he's going to bring a good viewership there, maybe there is some of the marketability going through there. I can't argue with you, right? I've seen those guys do some of those whips. Pretty dang cool. And if I look at the Daytona 200, okay, Josh Herron, he's a 3-time, maybe 4-time winner at this point. Freaking goes out there, had a massive mistake here. Let me try to look at it here. Gosh darn it. Moto America should have it. Moto. Because he almost lost it in a pit stop. He almost lost that in a pit stop here. Dun, dun, dun. That's not the one that I'm looking for. Would it be on Josh's? Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so it says that he's won it 3 times in a row here. But no, he had a pit stop. Here, well, just bear with me, guys. Would it be on Josh's? Josh, I don't know if I'm following you, brother. Dun, dun, dun. Is he going to show it? Gosh. He had a mishap in the tire change, okay, where it stuck on him, and he almost lost the win because of it. But he came back in like the last half, made up a few seconds, which is just unbelievable, was able to do that. And looking at it, I should have had it up here to see it. So anyway, in other news, okay, the Indian Supercross series is beginning, and they have this SOB being Salman Khan, and he is a artist that has 70 million followers. Right? That's a pretty big deal to have him on there. Some of this stuff is pretty funny to look at because it's this guy that, I don't know, if there's any people from India that are watching, I'm going to get some bad comments here that I don't know who this is, but he's a movie star. And apparently the Indian Supercross, they spent a lot of money to have him represent, which is actually pretty cool, you know? And we got this boy, Matt Moss, here from Australia. I hope he's going to win, right? If I just had to pick one of my favorites, but I thought that was interesting enough that we had to say something. Dun, dun, dun. And Charles, appreciate the more respectful comment, man. So I will show it. Stark belongs. It just needs to be more in its own class. I agree with you, my friend. I agree with you. And you got Harry Bink is now on Stark. Okay. So yeah, there's lots going on here. And Swamp Piggery said 3 times. Yep. Another guy is the future. Been riding dirt bikes since late 70s. And my Ulcer Sur B yesterday had a great time. No oil changes, no air filters clean. Just get on it and enjoy. That to me is why I am more into bicycles at the moment when I go out. You know, I got my TT bike over here and I'm looking at buying a Canyon Dura Race because they are just fun. Just go ride it hard, put it away wet. Don't have to worry about anything. And when it comes to riding a motorcycle, I can still ride a motorcycle comparable to my level. You know, and it requires a lot of effort for safety reasons. Is again, you got to change and check so much stuff. But with an electric bike, you're like, hey, spokes are good, got air in the tires, it's charged, I'm ready to go. So let's just go ride and have some fun. Okay. It is the future. And this sport has been resistant to change for a while now. And e-bikes are the future. They are definitely the future. Whether you don't want it, it's just what's happening. It's better technology. It's soon going to be all of our cars are going to be electric. I have a TRD Pro Tundra that is a V6 hybrid, and that fucker just flies compared to my old V8 Hemi 5.2. Well, I don't think it was a Hemi, but it was a 5.2 liter, and that sucker just guzzled gas, and I couldn't even tow anything with it. It was still a 1500, right? But my little V6 hybrid could tow more. Still not recommended, but my point being is that it's better technology. That sucker is amazing. Does 50% better on gas. It's amazing, right? And I get it, guys. The hardest part is getting used to railing a bird and not having inertia to straighten you back up. I don't necessarily if I agree with that. You can change stuff with how the power is delivered with the braking as far as the recharge rate to get it to feel. The biggest thing for me for the e-bikes is they feel fucking weird in the air. That you don't have the same it's just it's dead. It's dead. So that you got to just focus on the gyros kind of spinning, and it's not even like a two-stroke. It feels weird in the air, and it's like an RC car, because if you grab the little bit of the throttle, that sucker wants to do all sorts of this weird stuff here. So I'm bummed that Stark, because in business, usually there's a saying that agreed. Everyone's going to have different opinions. Okay. Definitely. When it comes to Stark, usually the first one through the door gets knocked down, gets trampled. And that's kind of what I felt that is somewhat going on with Stark. And I thought maybe that was who was before them that Harley Davidson had a $20 million contract with. God, how come I can't remember? They were like yellow e-bikes and they completely died out. I thought maybe they were going to be the ones and the Starks were going to come after them and be okay. But truthfully, nothing is going to be mainstream until a big name, until Honda gets their freaking production E450, whatever, big bike over here, and people start believing in it. And if I'm being honest, right, I have had tendencies with going out and spending 15 grand for a Stark. So when they reached out to me, I was like, sweet. Okay. Oh, thank you, Jay. Alta. That's what it was. It was Alta. Is that I wasn't sure that they were going to be around long term. And so if that battery, just like with your cell phones and everything, what happens statistically with them is whenever it's 100% charged, it's not 100% charged like it was yesterday. Eventually, 100% charge will go down to 50%, but it'll say it's 100%. Those batteries just wear out. Okay, so if Stark's not around to service their motorcycles, what do? But Honda's going to be around. Yamaha's going to be around. KTM is going to be around. Ironically, with they may file for bankruptcy, but they will be okay. I think BMW didn't end up buying them. I don't know if they've released who's actually infused them with $300 million worth of cash. But my point being is that has been my hesitancy for buying an e-bike. And so I've been kind of waiting for the Hondas to come out. And yeah, KTM they have been working on a full-sized e-bike as well. And you've got a lot of those Ultra Bs. Those bikes are fun to ride. Those bikes are super, super fun to ride. So truthfully, this is, man, it's almost like the stock market right now. With all these tariffs and everything that's going on, is just these death by 1,000 knives, like a slow Band-Aid peel off. Stark, hopefully they can stay around because they are good and they deserve to be here, especially after being bullied the entire time to stick around. I know the feeling all too well, right? And yeah, guys, you need to actually ride them. And then once you ride them, you'll notice they are the fastest bike you've ever ridden, right? The fastest bike. And OG Mars, I just made a video this morning right after this, before this live show. So if you want to go check that out, go check that out. I go all in on what's really going, Trump's administration, the Bitcoin reserve, everything, the market bottoming, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Treasury 10-year bonds, interest rates. I go through all of it. And yeah, guys, I'm not a huge proponent to e-bikes. The biggest thing that I am a fan of is just the ability with staying power and being able to just go ride and have fun, not have to go work for 2 hours on the motorcycle to then go ride on Saturday, then to go put another hour or so in it just to keep the motorcycle safe, right? And the reason why I do that is because I've been hurt so many times because of a malfunction of a motorcycle, right? That is why I work on the bike so much. And yes, it is different not having the clutch and not shifting. But truthfully, if I'm being honest here, okay, look at the advantages you have. No matter if you have a slipper clutch in there or if you have a power shifting where you're the bike still has to make eternal gear changes where it cuts out power and then delivers power again. So if you had a transmission that had 0 gears, hypothetically speaking, you would be 0.5, maybe a half a second faster every lap because you weren't shifting. Think of how many times you shift a 450. I mean, a 2-stroke, you'll shift more than a 450, but a 450, right? I could say I'm going down a second gear, roll, be in 3rd gear most of the track, shift 4th, back down to 3rd. At least in a 2-minute motocross track, I'll probably shift maybe 6 to 12 times, right? And if it's 100th of a second, boom, 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 boom. And then I go get on a Stark where I'm not shifting at all, and I keep everything the same, horsepower, whatever, just for scientific reasons, I should be faster on the electric bike. Okay. Purely. Looking at some of these comments. Center, you back up on a dirt bike motor. You don't have the piston going up and down. Gives you inertia to center you back up. Huh. That is an interesting point that I did not think of. So Fast Cat, I appreciate that. Because when I'm thinking of inertia, I'm thinking of rolling speed, to get you to go back up. Because truthfully, like the Yamahas, when I ride a Yamaha 450, I love it. And honestly, it's been one of the reasons why, like, whatever bike I buy, I like to try to get the radiator lowering kit, because all the weight is there in the middle, and that helps you turn better. So that's why I like those Yamahas so much, is because they seem to just lean over and stay in a rut and then boom, back up and going. Okay. So yeah, that is a good interest. I booby trapped my BMX trails to give Surons flat tires. That's not nice. That's not nice, dude. Yeah. I don't like, we need to go have a beer or something so that we don't do that. Yeah. Huh. You did make me laugh, though. You did make me laugh. And okay, I like to know that there's instant torque, and maybe showing my age, but it's something that burns fossil fuel and non-charger without the sound, the smell, the race fuel. It just brings it back. Yes, the race fuel is very important. The smell of it, it's nice, right? And you spend hundreds of hours building trails. Okay, I get it. You don't want the little bikes to screw everything up, but mountain bikes, it just makes it harder for you. It makes you a better mountain biker to go through some ruts and everything. And Slayer, sorry, electric bikes will never be accepted. Dude, I think you're thinking of this wrong. Okay. It's just the same reason why, gosh, I'm going into a little bit of politics, where they don't care about baby boomers anymore, because they know they're retired. They're not making any money. They're not coming into the workforce. Who's coming into the workforce? It is the young kids. Okay. And look at what KTM is doing. Let's just 1,000-foot view, zoom out, and we'll zoom back in here. What is going on at almost every Supercross? There's the KTM Juniors race. And are those electric bikes? Yes, those are electric bikes. Are those kids having an amazing moment where their dads are euphoric, the fans are euphoric, even if they walk away with a trophy or not? They got to ride in front of 50,000 people, maybe not really, more like 30,000 people, but it is a stamp in their brain. Okay. Then their parents are going to go out and buy an e-bike for them because they're asking for it. If you look at what are the Stasics, the bicycles, they're electric. Okay. It's not about us anymore. I agree. I like 2-strokes. Okay. They're hard to ride. Not many people ride 2-strokes anymore because they're hard to ride. 125s are boring to ride. They're not scary fast, which is kind of nice, but they're hard to ride. You can't go around a corner in 6th gear on a 125 because you'll just kill it. You got to down to first, and then back to sixth, back to first constantly, right? They're slow. Almost an 85cc dirt bike is faster than a 125 just because it weighs less. Or a 150R. The 4-strokes are better technology. They wiped out the 2-strokes. What's going to wipe out the 4-strokes? It's the e-bikes, and it's not our choice. As much as we think it's our choice, okay, it's kind of, I want to call a little simplistic as far as manipulation, and it's the market from the manufacturers. We're going to buy what they sell, okay, and what they are feeding into right now is their R&D is not going into 4-strokes anymore. It's going into e-bikes, and it's starting from the young kids. Okay. It's the same reason with brand loyalty, where Visa and MasterCard work so hard to get you to have a credit card first of their brand, because they know you're not going to think like, oh no, I know Visa works, I don't want to go to MasterCard anymore. They understand this. Okay. And that's where it's going on. You, my friend, may never buy an e-bike, but your kids and their children may buy an e-bike. That's the difference. And that's what we're going to see here. And you guys are getting Sheep Hills, California is getting ruined by e-bikes and Surons. Okay, there's that issue coming on here. And yeah, a lot of you guys hate the electric. Learn to love the sound of generationals and electric motors. That, guys, again, yes, we hate it. Okay. Right now, it might not come into fruition for the next 5 to 10 years, but eventually you're going to stop buying motorcycles. Okay. I know it's sad, but it's not, most of us are not going to be 70 years old buying a new 450 factory edition. Okay. We may buy it to look cool and drop our elbows in the garage, but we're not really going to go out there and race it. Okay. It's going to be our kids. And Pierre says, my 8-year-old can't stand it. Why is that? Probably because you can't stand it, Pierre. Okay. But wait till, I'm not trying to start a fight with the chat here. Maybe I am here. It's just, perhaps I think a little bit different about some things. And I'm telling you, okay, that the big manufacturers are already starting to manipulate and put into production the e-bikes, okay? And I'm talking to bigger guys. They have waited and said, hey guys, let's not make huge incentives yet until we're involved. Because it's big corporations that make the rules, and we're following it. If you look at cars or whatnot, you have Toyota that is going to start building full-blown hydroelectric cars in 2026. And they've already stopped production on stick shifts. Yes, stick shifts are fucking cool, right? I think statistically, there's less than 5% of the population still knows how to drive a stick shift. Okay. But it's nostalgic. That's what's happening to the 4-stroke. It's becoming nostalgic. Is it going to take time? Don't bring up Toyota. They have been less reliable. Yeah. Okay. I feel like everything I'm saying here, you guys just have something to fight back with it. Okay. I love it. Overall, okay, the cost of replacing motor and a battery are ridiculous expensive. True, but let's think about how much money you spend on top ends and all sorts of things. Okay, you have a $4,000 battery that needs to be replaced every 5 years. How many top ends, piston changes, oil changes? Like, for instance, I would change my oil every time I rode. Okay. I was spending $200 a month just in oil changes. And then every 25 hours, I needed a top end, which was $350 to $600, right? Okay, now I need my $1,500 FMF pipe. Oh crap, I crashed. I need another $1,200 silencer because it's bent. Okay, a battery replacement to me, big effing deal, because it's moot point at that point. E-bikes will be the death of the sport. I think otherwise. Truthfully, I think otherwise. The only thing will be the death of the sport is if the manufacturers go out of business, like KTM and them, and we start producing motorcycles. But as far as when it comes to, you look at Kodak, you look at BlackBerry, if you do not innovate, you get left behind and you go out of business. And Honda, Yamaha, they all know this, right? So they are getting involved in this technology. Just plain as day. If you are interested in e-bikes and on events, the C-Boys have tested them out and they use the battery in other vehicles too. Okay, let me continue on with this week in Moto, because truthfully, like, everyone is, I don't quite understand the consensus here, because there's very mixed feelings here. The chat room says how much they hate e-bikes, but then whenever I look online, the debate with X Games banning e-bikes is this is a idiotic move, which is conflicting, because if you guys hate e-bikes so much, and I agree, the sound of an engine feeds the crowd. But again, if I'm looking from a business standpoint, I'm not trying to sell more to you, Chuck. I'm trying to sell to your kids and open the crowd, not have the people that are nostalgic for growing up with racing. How do I get more people involved? And how I get more people involved is people that have been on STACYCs, that are buying the electric bikes from Walmart. And then they start going down to the motocross, the bike shop, to look for a e-bike. You're just trying to get more and more fans involved here. But that is a conflicting, interesting dynamic, that there's a split here, because I would think that most people would be like, oh, fuck them, good thing. I'm glad that they're banned because I don't want them anyway, right? But the majority of the comments I read on Instagram and the internet is like, this is such a bad move for X Games to do it. Interesting. And Joe, you're saying is only for rich people. That is an interesting statement right there too. Okay. Because road racing has always been the consensus that it's only for rich people. Okay. And honestly, if you look at, road bikes, they're 15 grand for a nice, Cervelo or Trek, Madone, or whatever, right? Where mountain bikes are kind of more of the rednecks that I would put in the same category as motocross. Road racing is more of the Apple fans, and then you've got these other guys that are more Samsung and whatnot. If I'm just bringing some comparison of here. Dun, dun, dun. And okay, says, I don't hate them, but they should be in their own category and show them, compare later. All you can do is trial and error and see what sticks. That is the problem right there, is what you said, RC, is the problem is they don't have their own class. And it's hard to have their own class when there's only one competitor. That is the sticking point here, is Stark is in its class of its own. That is what we're coming to terms with. Stark is better technology. For a privateer, it is better. I know, and I have ridden some really fast fucking motorcycles in my life. And when I would ride my built 450, and then I would go ride like a Honda of Houston bike that was 60 grand, it was so much faster. I was 3 seconds a lap faster on that stuff. And then you have another level with having a factory bike. What is a Stark? They go up to 80 horsepower. So scary. Okay, I have to just give this guy some... Yes, words are definitely hard, especially live shows. Better technology. That's it. They're better technology. They're in a class of their own, so they're being treated like the redheaded stepchild, which is sad. Completely sad. And for that, I hope they stick around, because what is going to happen is that they're almost too early for the time, right? But in order for them to be successful, they had to come out first. Stark had to come out first, because if it came out the same time with Honda and Yamaha, what would you do if there was at about the same price point? If you had a Honda e-bike and a Stark sitting up there and they were the same price point, what would you pick? Ideally, you'd probably lean towards the Honda because of the brand recognition. Okay. So Stark is building its brand. And truthfully, with them getting marketable news like this, it's not theoretically such a bad thing, because again, it's got people like me talking about it. Right. And yeah, I wish they would do things a little bit differently. And James, no, I did not buy one. I thought about buying one. And then Stark reached out to me and they said that they wanted me to ride them for them. And I said, hell yeah, let's do it. And this was back in October, right? Or November. And they went dark on me. They stopped responding to my emails, and yeah, just everything. I reached out multiple times. They never responded to me. I was supposed to have a Stark in my garage right now. And I have a list on my iPad of all the videos that I was going to make about them. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. I'm a little bit bitter about the business practice, about just the lack of clarity there. Like I've waited now to actually talk about it, but yeah, that was supposed to be the deal. I was supposed to be a Stark rider, and I was so stoked for it. Because truthfully, I like the technology. I've ridden them. I wanted to help grow the brand. I wanted to advertise for them, but yeah, they're struggling. And truthfully, this news doesn't. I mean, that's the only thing my assumption, because they didn't give me any clarity for what was actually going on. I literally picked out a motorcycle. It was being built and no delivery. So yeah, it's just that's the thing. And SK, I'm not going to talk about it because I already made a video about it, right? And my view is a little bit differently. Don't like how RC handled things, but it wasn't really his decision. It was NBC's. Plain and simple. NBC looks to people that have clout to make decisions, and that's what they decided to do, right? I like Daniel Blair. I think he's talented. I think he does a really good job. And hopefully he has high success on YouTube and his Supercross University deal. So here. What else went on this week? Oh yeah. Marc Marquez won Thailand GP, and his brother was second. And then you got Bagnaia, who was 2 years ago the champ, was third. And I believe was the Martinator. Was he coming back for Argentina? He might be back for Argentina. And so that would be, is he, I don't know if they say that he's on the grid yet or not. Fastest speed, 345 kilometers a second. Okay. Isn't a kilometer 2.2 of a miles per hour? So what is that? Is that 180, 185, something like that? Yeah. Love you too, SK. Love you too. Totally lame. There's no other way to watch a sport. But no, okay. So that's basically what's going on here. And yeah, I'm trying to get more into MotoGP and Moto America and even bicycle stuff, because that's where I want my channel to develop, is all forms of two-wheel racing, just because it's stuff that I like. And if I like it, therefore I'd watch it. And that's kind of how my content wants to grow. So thanks for showing up for This Week in Moto for the amazing 40-minute live show here. So appreciate you SOBs, you two-wheel knuckleheads. Make sure you hit that subscribe and notification icon. And those are my thoughts. And honestly, it was nice to hear a lot of you guys from the chat room, your thoughts of what's going on as well. It was very, very interesting. So till next time, keep it WFO.